Hey guys, Brian, Mr. SF Studios, working in the garage here today, kind of rearranging things. I've been building this little desk. What started it was I had this nice piece of wood left over from a old dresser, and I didn't want to just throw it away. So went and got a few 2x4s and some hardware, and now I'm making a nice little garage desk. So I'll have a workspace here that I can sit in my chair and do detail work. And it has to be sturdy to handle heavy weight, car parts and whatnot. But I also wanted to make some storage so I can get my tools out of the way. I just put a shelf here, so we'll slide the toolbox down in there, and then on this one we'll put this metric rack in there, and that'll be neat and accessible and put away, and it should be really good. So far just been cutting 2x4s and screwing them together. I made a cool little relief here so that the 2x4 is only half on this, and it sits flush. This was a little janky, but it's okay. I mean, it's all going to be fine because I'm going to put a shelf here which will be held on with screws, so everything will be tied together. This was just cosmetic anyway, and that's all anchored in. Everything's anchored in with these big long construction screws, and it's sturdy. It's super sturdy. It's going to be great. I haven't even checked to see if the thing's level. I cut all the legs at 29, but it's a skill saw, so it could be a little off. Let's see how we did. Oh, look at that. What a thing of beauty. Is that level or what? Hey, I got my little shelf made. It was a little off. I mean, this is a garage desk. It doesn't have to be beautiful. It's not a fine piece of furniture. It's just all made out of scrap plywood and 2x4s. That'll go here. Now I'll put a bunch of screws in. Before screwing the big long screws into the 2x4, I like to pre-drill. Take a nice little drill and poke a couple holes through and into the thing I'm screwing into. It's just a little bit smaller than the size of the screw with the threads sticking out, so there'll still be meat for it to get into, but it won't crack or split wood. Now for the back, since I can't get in there and I don't have long enough hardware to go all the way through, I've just kind of towed in here at an angle. You start in straight and then you turn it and you dig through. You start in straight, you turn it, dig through, and then you can just sink a screw in that way at an angle. It works. It isn't pretty, but it works. So, yeah, it's great. My toolbox just fits. Now I'll make another shelf above it for the metric tools. Okay, so yeah, I just split this one 2x4, so we have two runners instead of having a big 2x4. This is plenty of wood just for a shelf. So we'll just put these in here, like so. Make sure they're all level and good. Okay, I've got it clamped in place. And I got a level on it just to make sure that it's nice and straight. Okay, I got this runner in. Now I'm putting this one in, so I'm looking at my level to adjust the height to make sure that this is going to be flat. It's good that way, and then I think we're good this way too. Yeah, good enough for a shop bench. Okay, I got my shelf runners screwed in, and they are level. So now I've got to make a little board, and this is the only other scrap of plywood I have left. It's real thick, but it'll do the trick. So we'll cut 14.5 by just over 8.5 inches. I cut it a little small, but it's still fine. It's got a little wiggle room. Oh, I'm stoked. It's finished. Alright, I got my little desk. And now I got places to put everything. Keep my tools all organized. Look at that. That's cool. And then a place to sit. So I can sit here in my comfortable chair and work. And then the last thing to do, I can't do it yet, but I got to get some carriage bolts, will be to mount this bench vise back on here, because I want to be able to do that when I need to. Here's our marks for our cross brace. And there's our cross brace cut. Now we'll just attach. I think I can drill through here and attach. And probably just toe down there. Probably toe this way. But that's fine. That'll be good. That just gives it a little more stability. There's the little work desk all finished. And I went ahead and drilled the mounting holes for the bench vise. This little vise my grandfather gave me when I was a kid back in the 80s. And he put it on this little sawhorse for a kid down low. And I worked with it that way for a long time, but it just became a nuisance because it wasn't high enough. There it is, $33 work table. At least that's what the receipt says here. What did that break down to? Lumber was $14.72, a bunch of 2x4s, 4 of them. I already had the lid, so if you build it, it'll cost you a little more because you have to get some kind of wood. I don't know what that is, pine or might be something nicer. Back in the 70s they made stuff out of real wood, and that's why I wanted to save that top, because it was real wood. Anyway, yeah, the 3332 workbench slash desk. I'm excited. This is great. It's going to really organize my garage and be a pleasure to work. Really, it's probably only a $28 thing, because I only spent $28 on lumber and screws. I also bought a saw blade, so that was in the receipt. So if you already have a good saw, a good skill saw, you got your drill and ruler and all that stuff, this wouldn't be that hard to build. I love it. I think it's going to be wonderful. Really handy for projects.